So they can watch this later, or they'll watch it live right now if they can't jump on Zoom. And so this will give a great opportunity for much larger impact, because as we know, in summer, not everybody can always attend the times that we pick for everything. But we do have a good group here, and we probably will have more people joining because we usually do for about 5 or 10 minutes after it starts. And so we'll let people in. But we do want you to know that inside of our group of agents, we've got a great group of people. And I think that this is going to just be awesome for a lot of them to be able to see. So I know Haley's working on getting it live streamed in there.
Yep.
We are super excited to have you. And thanks, Haley, again, for making this happen and the connection. Jennifer, you and I have a lot of, I think, mutual connections. I just don't think that we've actually had the opportunity to talk before. So I'm very excited myself to hear you speak. So thanks again for being here.
My pleasure.
So, and hey, everybody, awesome. If you can be on camera, I know that's going to be a lot more fun for Jennifer to speak to human beings versus names, but I understand sometimes that you guys can't be on screen. So we get that as well. We have a lot of people joining in. It is only 10:01 my time. So we'll probably give it, if you're okay, Jennifer, like 1 more minute before you get started. That would be awesome.
Yep. And I think we're just getting, everything should be up and running in just a second for the live stream. Yep, it looks like we're live
it is now. Yep, we're recording.
Perfect.
We are live, and so this is all perfect. So before we get started, as we're waiting to see if 1 or 2 or 5 more people join in, because that's usually what happens the first few minutes of our calls. Anybody want to share something good that's happening in their life or business, just to get some good positive energy flowing? You can unmute yourself, or you certainly can chat in the chat box if that's easier. But I love to start calls out with some good news. So who's got some?
I started a team finally after 2 years of sticking
I remember our
in the mud. Yeah, last year when Jeremy and I had talked about getting a team going, I finally jumped in when we joined DXP. I decided to start my team, so it's been going good.
Awesome. I remember you and I spoke probably 2.5 years ago. Remember that conversation after our group coaching?
Yeah.
About this. So that is exciting. Time flies, by the way. I can't believe that was 2 years ago.
I know.
All right. Who else has something? Congratulations, Jason. 1 more, and then we're going to get started.
School's starting. Kids are going back. Yay!
That's
More
awesome.
time.
We all have some routine back in our life, right? That's awesome. All right, well, we're going to go ahead and get started. Haley, I'm going to let you make the introduction, since you helped us get Jennifer here, and I have a dog barking in the background. We're going to go ahead and get started. And hi to those of you watching live stream as well. We're excited that you are.
Yeah, well, thank you again for everybody joining us. And this is the Growth Collaborative. So Carrie and I created this collaborative group because we really strongly believe that our business grows in direct proportion to how much we grow as individuals. So every month, our group, we focus on one of our core values. So either wealth building and financial mastery, health and wellness, personal and professional development, and of course, strategic client acquisition. We really believe that these are the core values that help us to grow, not just personally, but it also flows into our business, right? And if we can continue to fill our bucket, then all of the overflow we can contribute into other people's lives. And so today I am so excited and humbled to have the incredible Jennifer Beadles joining us. Jennifer is someone who I met about, like almost 2 years ago now, I think. And she is the CEO of, it's Addicted to ROI, correct, Jennifer?
Yeah, I have a couple companies, but Addicted to ROI and Agents Invest.
Agents Invest. And Jennifer is able to teach us and encourage us, and most importantly, inspire us in investing, right? And we've had so many people, so many clients that I previously worked with who just listened to her, and she ignited a flame in them to just inspire them to start investing, and how we can really live a more intentional and purposeful life if we allow ourselves to do this. So without further ado, Jennifer, you may take over. I'm going to stop sharing my screen and go for it.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, hey, everybody. I am so thrilled to be here and see all of your beautiful faces. If you're just signing on, if you could turn your camera on, it's just so much more fun to just see you guys and interact. And, and then of course, I want this to be super interactive. So as you all have questions, go ahead and just shout out to me and stop me because I can talk really fast. This is a topic that I am so passionate about. And my favorite audience is real estate agents. Why? Because we do so much for our clients. We help them build wealth. We help them find houses. We, wear so many different hats kind of throughout the transaction. And typically we put ourselves aside or behind, right? And so we're always taking care of everybody else, but it's not always, at the forefront of our mind that we should be building wealth for ourselves and also setting ourselves and our families up for financial success. So again, you are all my favorite type of audience. And I want to give you guys a lot of tips today. So I like to get into like real tactical, advice and things that basically you can take away. So if you don't have a pen and paper, grab one, because I want you all to walk away with a lot of tips. We're going to get into taxes. We're going to get into how to set up your kids for financial success. We're going to get into how you guys can leverage what you're already doing on an everyday basis, finding properties for clients, and shift your mindset a little bit to thinking about how you can take advantage of some of these deals that you're already finding and then essentially buy them yourselves. And we're going to get into a lot of it. We're also going to talk about how to invest in real estate using none of your own money. So that's a topic that a lot of people really like to talk about. So if all of that sounds good, I'm going to go ahead and pull up a presentation. I think I can share my screen. Yes, I can. Amazing. I'm going to hit slideshow here. All right. Can you all see my screen? Amazing, amazing. All right. So topic of conversation today is how to live your best life funded by your investments. So I know you all are real estate agents, and my guess is you all love what you do. Otherwise, you probably wouldn't do it, because there's like this emotional roller coaster that we all go through of the highs and lows in business. And so that's fantastic. So we want you to continue to do what you do. And we also want to put you in a place and make some really strategic investments in yourself and your future, so that if at any point you do decide to retire, or you want to have a plan B, or you want to create your own retirement account or pension, you have the option to do so. So that's what we're talking about today. So Haley had done a little introduction for me, and it was so kind and so sweet. I love hearing that, these talks and these sessions can, ignite that passion within. And again, as mentioned, agents are my favorite audience to talk to. But yeah, so this is my little family. My husband, Travis, he's my rock. He does asset management for our family business. I'm going to kind of tell you guys a little bit more about what that looks like. I am the visionary. Basically, I'm the one with all the crazy ideas. Probably half of them are terrible. And actually, maybe it's more than half of them are terrible, but sometimes these crazy ideas stick and they work. I handle all the acquisitions for our, little family rental portfolio. That's we're just shy of 300 units in 8 different states. And then my daughter, Dylan, she's 7. She does due diligence for us. We actually pay her as a salary employee. I'm going to give you guys some details on how you can do this yourselves. And she's our activities coordinator. And so this photo was taken of us in Cairo, Egypt I think we were there in October, so less than a year ago. And so you're seeing this photo of us happy, living our best life, and, at a certain chapter in our lives, to get where we are today and to get to this point, it took a lot of time and effort and work and, failures, a little bit of success along the way. That if we were having this conversation 5 years ago, I would have said that this moment in time or us operating this way as a family was not possible. Why? Is because I was working 7 days a week as an agent. I had no free time. We had some rental properties, but it was kind of a mess. We had no clear path for the direction that we were going. And so again, that's what I'm going to teach you today is the framework that I used and that I currently use to help both agents and investors basically create and dream up your ideal life and then figure out how to fund it through investing. So again, just a little bit of background. So I got my real estate license in May of 2009. And prior to that, I got started as an investor. So I started out in 2007. I've done a little bit of everything. We started out spec home building just north of Seattle. We flipped a lot of houses. Every Friday, 10 years ago, you would find me buying properties at the foreclosure auction. We've done private lending. We've invested passively in apartment syndications. We've built small multifamily, done a lot of investing locally, just in our own backyard in Seattle. And then for the last 6 years, we've been investing out of state and then also working as an investor agent. So these are a lot of different things. We, again, as mentioned, I have a lot of crazy ideas and sometimes they work and sometimes they don't. And what I've really learned to lean into is figuring out ways to, basically put systems and processes in place so that we have income streams coming in that don't require active or material participation. So the freedom that we've built from, again, the framework that I'm going to teach you today has allowed us to travel to over 28 countries together as a family. I think I was telling Haley that, with COVID, we kind of my husband and I looked at each other and said, why are we living in Seattle? It rains nine months out of the year. If we could live anywhere, which we could, where would we live? And so now we're living in sunny Phoenix and we spend a couple of months out of the year, traveling abroad, having great adventures. And again, it's all because of, these investments that we've put in place that I'm going to teach you about today. So what I do on a day-to-day basis, I coach and train. I absolutely love sharing what I've learned. I love kind of collapsing time for people and, hopefully, saving them from the mistakes that I made early on. And so it's called the ROI Inner Circle. We teach investors and agents how to build and scale a rental portfolio. I also have a referral program for investor agents. So I completely shut down my real estate sales business that was highly profitable, but unfortunately really difficult to leverage. And we converted it to a referral program. So I have my own brokerage, but we have no sales agents. We actually don't sell real estate. We just do referrals for investor agents, connecting investors and agents all across the country. And then most recently, I'm building software. So in a couple of months, we'll launch a new software company that's going to solve a lot of problems for both investors and agents. And it includes an investor agent CRM and a deal analysis tool. So super excited about that. All right, so today what we're going to cover, I believe that we have an hour. And so I could talk about this for hours and days, but I really just want to give you guys, again, a lot of tactical tips that you can take action on today, hopefully, within the next 24 hours and start making some moves and start making some strategic decisions so that you can improve your life and essentially, get some of these things in motion. So really though, what I want to teach you is how to use your active income. So if you're W-2, that's fine. Or if you're in real estate sales, working as a real estate agent, great. But we want to convert some of that active income and use it to acquire income producing assets. For me, that's rental properties, which produce cash flow, create wealth, and reduce your taxes. I'm going to share with you 10 benefits of owning rental properties. Of course, you're all in real estate, so you know all of these benefits, but I think it's really helpful to kind of hear them again and then actually kind of see what I'm giving you as these examples through the case studies that I'll share. And then the number one question that I get, I would say almost on a daily basis, is where to invest. And so I want to give you guys some feedback on the research that my team does and how I kind of analyze these new markets. As mentioned, I'm in 8 different states. And so we're always, looking for the next best market. And so I want to give you some feedback there. And then number 5 is, a lot of agents say, this is great, I want to do this, but I don't have hundreds of thousands of dollars sitting around to invest in real estate. How do you take this knowledge and actually apply it to the purchase and acquisition of these properties? So I'm going to give you guys some tips on how to find the funds to do this. And then we're going to kind of end with the 9 steps to building your rental portfolio. So we have a lot to cover today. Again, I can talk fast. So if there's any question, just go ahead and unmute yourself, say, hey, Jennifer, and then go ahead and ask your question and we can get to it. Sound good? All right. Awesome. Well, first, I just want to share this. So a single property will make an impact, but multiple properties will change your life. And so for the first, I would say essentially 5 years that I was working as an agent, I set a goal to just buy 1 property a year. Guys, super, super doable. I don't care what market you're in. I was north of Seattle, very expensive market. And, essentially I used some creative strategies to do so, but my goal was just to buy 1 investment property a year. Now, you all with, the access to resources and the network that you all have, and these, incredible trainers and leadership that you have with Carrie and Haley, I truly believe that you all can purchase multiple properties per year if you really set your mind to it, and it will completely change your life, your kids' lives, leave a financial legacy, and then you'll also be able to help your clients do the same, which means you can make more real estate commissions as well. So let's talk about the benefits of owning rental properties. So number 1, historically, rents have never gone down. So I should have included the graph here, but the Fed has basically been tracking the rents since I think it's like 1940. And there's only one time in history when rents have remained stagnant. They actually did not go down. They were pretty flat. And that was in that like 2008 to 2010 time period. And why is that? It's because we had a lot of homeowners that were staying in their homes, not paying their mortgages. And essentially they weren't, put into the renter pool because there was such a backlog of foreclosures, right? And so that's the only time in history, again, you can look this up, you can Google it, see the graph on the Fed website, but rents have never gone down. Now, what has happened in the last 6 months? Interest rates have gone up. And unfortunately, a first-time home buyer that could have, maybe in January, acquired a first-time home for $500,000. Now they've bumped down to $350,000. Well, prices haven't adjusted that much, right? And so a lot of first-time home buyers have now gone into the renter pool. I think the last stat on this I saw was that, with the interest rate increase, it's taken about 1 million would-be first-time home buyers and put them back into the renter pool. So that's, unfortunate for the interest rate increase, but for those that own rental properties, it's a benefit. It's a lower risk situation when that these rents historically have never gone down. So the rents today, even if in this next economic cycle that we're in, even if rents stayed the same, then we're going to underwrite it based on our year 1 numbers, and then any rent appreciation is just gravy on top. Number 2, you can generate income without actively participating. So as you all know, working as a real estate agent, it takes a lot of time, effort, hours. We get calls, all during the day, right? Different hours. And so you basically have to show up. You have to answer your phone if you want to make an income. Well, the benefit of owning rental properties is you have a tenant that's in a property, of course, hopefully paying, and you don't have to actively participate. So I have property managers for every state that we own properties in, and they are the operator, which means that they are basically handling the day-to-day operations of the property. I could be anywhere in the world and I'm seeing the deposits hit my bank account, and I'm not actually having to show up or actively participate in that income stream coming in. Number 3, long-term appreciation. So we've seen this play out in the last 24 months. Is we've experienced massive appreciation, and that's fantastic. We've also, been in obviously, the last 9 months here, we've seen a lot of inflation, and real estate tends to do very, very well in a high inflationary environment. And so long-term appreciation, basically this is the wealth building part. So again, you have income producing assets that are appreciating in value. I'm skipping to the next one, where the tenants are paying down the mortgage. So the tenants are paying you to live there. That's in the form of cash flow. That's the difference of, your income minus your expenses. The tenants are paying down that mortgage for you. The property value is going up, and you're getting all of these benefits of just owning it. Another benefit is a bank will finance between 75 to 80% of the deal. I've actually worked with some commercial lenders that'll go to 85%. So really, ultimately, all you need to be able to know how to do is find that, 20 to 25% down. The bank is going to cover the rest. So huge benefit. There's not a whole lot of other investment vehicles where essentially you can get this type of leverage in debt terms. As already mentioned, real estate typically performs really well in an inflationary environment. So it's interesting. We're seeing this play out a little bit in certain markets, and my old hometown in Seattle, prices are down in some areas on the residential side. They're down, I think 10, 15%. However, all of my multifamily properties have not gone down in value at all. If anything, they're actually still going up in value. Why? Is because I have, this income stream, right? So other investors, other people are looking for alternative income streams because the stock market's down and it's really difficult to find another asset class that will perform as well as real estate does. That includes all of these benefits. Number 7, forced depreciation. So I absolutely love multifamily properties. I'm going to show you all some examples of, what this looks like. But essentially, with forced depreciation, how this plays out is through good asset management and through good operations. That's my property manager. We can essentially, improve or increase the revenue and instantly make the property be worth more. I'm going to show you how this plays out again on some of these case studies. And then on the residential side, your comps are, the value of the property is only ever going to be based on the comps in that neighborhood. So this is, 1 to 4 unit properties. You don't necessarily get to force appreciation on those because of how they're valued and how the conventional lenders look at them. Number 8, you get to get paid without paying taxes. So an example of this is I would say every 3 to 5 years, I could take a significant amount of equity out of my properties and not pay tax. I get the benefit of selling without actually having to sell. And I do this through cash out refinances. And so again, you have the ability to grab some of that equity that's been built up between, the appreciation and the tenants paying down that mortgage, use that money, maybe get a couple $100,000, not pay any tax on that, and then use that, roll it over into another property. So again, huge benefit in doing so. And then, ideally, the rents will have gone up enough to then cover that new mortgage payment. So of course, there's going to be a difference in what the mortgage payment is based on what it was, and then what you're, taking out as far as the cash out refinance. But with the rents going up as high as they are, typically, you're not going to really be sacrificing any cash flow by getting all this money out. Number 9, build your own retirement plan. So as real estate agents, retirement is up to us. We don't get a retirement plan from, our brokerages, or there's no pensions involved. And so really it's ultimately up to us to build, a retirement plan and think about what our exit strategy might be when we actually want to stop selling real estate at some point. And so what better retirement plan than, buying these assets that you're already selling on an everyday basis anyway. So you guys have, what we call like insider information. You get access to off-market deals before anyone else. You get a lot of the tax benefits, and I'm going to show you, here in just a minute. And then obviously you have contractors, you have property managers, you have all the contacts that you need. It's just a shift in mindset. I'm thinking about, how can I acquire this property? And then if the property doesn't work for you, then how can I sell this to one of, my investor clients, or help somebody, do this for themselves? And then number 10, I keep dropping this, tax benefits. But let me kind of show you how this looks. So this is tax benefits. There's actually, the IRS has 3 different classifications for investors. Number 1 is a passive investor. So this would be somebody, maybe they're a W-2 and they've invested passively in syndications, meaning they have no voting rights. They have no say in the property. They've pretty much just given somebody else their money, and that's it. And so a passive investor classification can deduct only passive losses against passive gains. So not super ideal, right? Not terrible. They still get some tax benefits, but not ideal. The next classification would be an active investor. So this is somebody that has some say in a property and essentially says that, yeah, sometimes I actively participate or I make some decisions. So an active investor classification, This means that the person can deduct up to $25,000 against ordinary income. This is not per property. This is against all properties. So a lot of our clients that are W-2 or will work full-time, even if they own 100 units, they can only deduct $25,000 a year against their ordinary income. Everything else, though, is banked for a future event where there's capital expenses that they can deduct. But all of us as real estate professional designation, we can deduct 100% of the losses against our ordinary income. Guys, this is like the holy grail of tax benefits. And we all get this because we are real estate professionals. Let me show you what the actual classification is. So you really only need one spouse, and that one spouse must spend the majority of their time in the real property business. And so it's a little bit of a gray area. This could be property management. This could be, maybe a lender. This could be, of course, real estate agent. Contractors sometimes can qualify. You also have to put in 750 hours or more in the real property business, and there must be material participation, right? Again, meaning you have to make some decisions with the property. And so I'll show you this again in case study examples, but let's assume that you're making $500,000 as an agent, right? After all of your expenses. And so you're going to be taxed pretty high on that amount. But if you have a couple of properties and you're able to take the full cost segregation, the depreciation, all of the operating expenses, and you come up with, say, $400,000 in losses, which with a couple of properties, especially if they're multifamily properties, is pretty easy to do, then you can take that $500,000, deduct $400,000, and then you're only taxed on $100,000. So again, absolutely huge benefit. You can also use this with your clients. So let's say you have a high income earner, maybe a doctor, and their spouse doesn't work. So that the spouse has no W-2, or maybe the spouse works very, very part-time. If you help them build and develop their own real estate portfolio, and that non-working spouse can say and basically show that they have 750 hours minimum, the spouse can get this real estate professional designation and use all of these write-offs to go against the high income earner W-2 doctor and essentially bring that tax bill way down. So again, huge benefit. A lot of people don't know this. And, again, as real estate agents, we really need to be taking advantage of this.
This is awesome. Can I pause you for 1 second, Jennifer? This
Absolutely.
is amazing. I hope all of you are writing this down, not only if you want to become an investor or you want to level up your game. I know many of you are deep in investment. Those, by the way, Jennifer, we've got some people in Branson, Missouri here who most of their business is around short-term rentals because of the environment that they find themselves in.
Yes.
So that this is just great for them to hear from another person, I think, too, outside of their area. A different perspective is always awesome. But for those of you that are trying to level up or just bring increased value to people, how many people in your database are corporate professionals, are doctors, are people in different industries that if they understood this, no one else would tell them this. And so of course you would be the person that they would go to when they want to invest in real estate. So I think that that's a really, really important point to hit home. This is going to be for you, but this can be something immediately tactical you can take to your real estate business as you get off this call today. Secondly, for those of you that are inside the EXP realty world, and there's many people that aren't, so please disregard if you are not, do not surpass the benefit of your retirement program called the Agent Equity Program. Every time you sell a home, 5% of your commission is going to purchase stock at a 10% discount. I'm talking to people right now who have $5,000, $10,000, $12,000 in their equity program. It's liquid, you guys. There's no vesting period. Use this money to go buy your investment property. That's why people who are entrepreneurs, who are investors, who are looking for passive and levered income come to EXP because it is perfect for those that want to focus on this. So if you haven't taken advantage of it, it's something you have to opt into. Work chat me and I will make sure that you know how to do that, because look, you guys are making money on your own commission right then and there because it's buying it at a discount. So you're not losing money. So you think I'm taking 5% out of my commission check, but you're making money on the backside that you can pull out right away. And it could also just help you to have that savings so you don't spend it. So now all of a sudden at the end of the year, this is the money you go use to make your investment property purchase next year. So I just wanted to make sure people knew that. I got a couple chats, Jennifer,
Oh,
that
yeah.
people, what is that? There was one question in the chat. Would you recommend hiring a property management with your first investment property, or don't use that expense until you get multiple properties? That's from Jennifer Hillquist.
I would recommend hiring a property manager on the very first property. Yes. Especially if you're working as a real estate agent, your time is going to be so much more valuable to go find more deals or find your clients deals as opposed to managing your own property. So 100% property managers, I love them. I feel like they're underpaid. They only make money when the property is making money. It's a small percentage of the, the revenue that comes in, and they are worth their weight in gold. 100% hire a property manager.
And you're right, Jennifer. If we all know what our dollar per hour activity or our rate is, then we would actually be able to go, yeah, it doesn't make sense for me to do this. I could go sell a house and make way more, and this isn't worth my time and effort. So you just have to know what your dollar per hour rate is, I think, to answer that question. But great advice,
I love
Jennifer.
that.
Okay. All right. That was it so far.
Excellent. And then also, to kind of tie back into Carrie's point. So guys, I used to host a monthly real estate investing meetup and teach all of these things and bring my CPA, and I'd bring my attorney, right? And bring my insurance broker and property manager, and basically cover all of these topics. I promise you, agents in your market aren't doing this. And fantastic. I mean, I used to do 2 hour, the meetup would maybe take 2 hours, 2 hours of lead generation, which would cover me for the entire month. So guys, huge benefit. I, of course, would invite my entire database. They would bring friends, they'd bring coworkers. The biggest issue is finding space for all of these people that are going to want to learn about this. So guys, do this, do it for yourselves, do it for your clients. Thank you for bringing awesome, Carrie. All right, some tax hacks for agents. Guys, buying one rental property a year should result in losses of at least $25,000. That'd be for like a $200,000 single family home. So again, just to be transparent with you guys, I meet with my CPA every early November. We kind of do a little tax calculation, and almost every December I'm buying some more properties just to get those tax benefits in. My goal is to basically, make really high income on my, businesses, which of course are, systems and processes that are running without me, and then offset all of that income with my rental losses, right? So essentially paying zero tax. So huge benefit there, huge tax savings. Number 2 is for those of you that have kids, remember you can pay your kids that are under 18 up to this year's $12,950 as a deductible expense in your business. The kids pay zero taxes. So as mentioned, my daughter is a salary employee at 7. She does due diligence for us, which means that she does Google Earth and takes notes and says, wow, the driveway's cracked and the roof doesn't look very good and things like that. Again, completely legal, all in the IRS tax code. She gets paid this amount of money. We get to deduct it as a business expense. Of course, that money then funds a Roth IRA, which then is invested in, stocks and commodities and all sorts of things, which means that it's tax-free for life. Right? So huge benefit. If you have kids over 18, you can still pay them. There's just, you might, I think at that point you have to pay some payroll taxes, which may still be a benefit, right? So talk to your CPA about these things. And it's not too late, right? So you can do this year, fund your kids and, basically set them up for financial success as well. Number 3 is you can contribute up to $61,000 to a solo 401k. And the benefit is you can do this by April 15th for the prior year. So again, had that CPA meeting and we kind of look at that tax bill and come up with a lot of different creative ways that we could basically reduce that. So there's some red tape here. There's a lot of things that you need to know. There's some, specifications around the solo 401k. But I set this up in, I think 2012, 2013. So I have a solo 401k that I fund, the tax, deduction for the funding, and then that is invested passively in other investments. So again, grows tax-free. Sounds like you all have a lot of other options. This is new to me with, the retirement plan. So that's fantastic. But great way to kind of set yourself up for success. Number 4, HSA. Guys, HSA is probably oh, this is like one of my favorite tax hacks because you get the tax deduction going in. The income is tax deferred, and then you don't pay tax on the withdrawals, provided that you basically assign it to, you know, a deductible expense that works basically like a healthcare expense. Downside is the limit contribution is only 7,300, but still it makes a big difference. So there's a lot of opportunities here. Again, talk to your CPA. You do have to have an HSA qualified health insurance plan. And so, you know, typically the premium is also deducted as well, but this is just another tax, basically like a vehicle and shelter that also allows you to invest. So huge benefits there.
Most of your EXP affordable healthcare programs are going to be HSAs. The one that Chris and I
Amazing.
opted into that is literally the exact same thing that we had with Blue Cross Blue Shield, which was not an HSA, saved us $800 a month for our family of 4 through EXP,
Wow.
and it's an HSA. So not even
Incredible.
are we talking about just the savings, you guys, but the HSA piece of it. And so they're very familiar with this. So if you've not looked into that, maybe just look into the affordable healthcare. Maybe you have healthcare through a spouse or something. You might want to see if the healthcare through EXP is better for you guys as a family, just simply because you could do it as an HSA. So again, if you don't
Amazing.
have that information, work chat me.
And then
love it.
also, Jennifer, there's another great question in the chat that I didn't even think about this. Chrissy was asking, can we do this for grandchildren?
The paying of the grandchildren, I believe so. All like, so again, I'm not a CPA. I like know enough to basically ask the right questions of my CPA, and then he, you know, tells me what I can do. But I believe so. And I think, Carrie, okay.
I think so as well. And Chrissy, we could ask Nicole in an email, Nicole Mindorf in Minnesota, but I think she did mention that at one time. Don't quote me, but we could get the answer.
Absolutely. Love that question. Love the way you guys are already thinking about this. Amazing. All right. Oh, and then number 5. So guys, this goes away in January. But it's a really interesting one. If you're shopping for a new vehicle right now, using the Section 179 deduction, if the vehicle is over 6,000 pounds, you can qualify for bonus depreciation. Now, no, you have to recapture that depreciation if and when you sell the vehicle. So there's some red tape here. But again, I've done this I shouldn't say every single year, but anytime we buy a vehicle, we're very strategic on this. I've also bought RVs that we've completely written off as well with bonus depreciation. So again, just another little hack, an idea just to get your wheels turning, to have these conversations with your CPAs, because there's a lot of different ways that you can, the whole idea here is that you save money so that then you can take that money that you're not paying to the IRS and basically fund these investment vehicles, right? So that's all we're trying to do here. Some super fun ideas. Okay, so now I'm going to get into some property examples so that you guys can kind of see how this plays out. So this is just a 6-plex that I bought. This was when, you know, the world was coming to an end with COVID and everyone was really scared. And I don't want to say that I'm excited about those types of opportunities, but usually when people are really, really scared, it means they do nothing, which means I get really aggressive in my property acquisitions. And I basically, you know, go in, write a ton of offers. I mean, still, even right now, I'm writing at least 1 offer a week on a new investment property. But anyways, pick this one up. This is a 6-plex built in, I think it's like 1995 in Clarksville, Tennessee. I'm going to share with you guys in a little bit how I identified Clarksville, Tennessee. Clarksville, Tennessee is just about 45 minutes outside of Nashville. Purchase price on this one, $415,000. I went to my private lender network and I found a private lender that would finance $385,000. I ended up putting $30,000 down, and then I needed about $30,000 for the renovation. So my total initial investment at first in the acquisition of this deal was about $60,000. Then I kicked some riffraff out, did a little bit of renovation, went to a local bank. They refinanced the property and gave me a new loan of $425,000, which paid off the private lender and about gave me $40,000 back of the 60 that I had in, which means I had like $20,000 into this deal. The annual cash flow on this property is $19,200, which means in 1 year, just on the cash flow alone, I pretty much made back my 20 grand. It gets even better. We did a cost segregation and did some depreciation, which meant that I got tax benefits of negative, this is like a loss, right? $68,000. Guys, this is huge. So again, got all my money back pretty much from my cash flow. And then I got to show a loss to the IRS, even though I call it 20 grand in my pocket. I legally showed a loss of $68,000, which meant that this money comes off of my other income and basically shows it as a loss, right? Whittles that down, whittles my tax bill down. And I bought this one, this was October 2020. And so less than 2 years later, it's increased in value by 81%, right? So it's 750,000. So what am I going to do when this, loan comes up? I'm going to take a couple $100,000 out. Rents have gone up. I'm going to take a couple $100,000 out, use it to buy my next property, right? Pretty average vanilla deal. I just like for setting expectations, guys, this isn't like the best deal ever, but this is what you can do too. Super simple, super easy, doable for every one of you, no matter where you live. And again, really kind of fun example. This is another one. This is a tax buy. So I closed on this property December 20th of 2021. So purchased a 7-unit in Holland, Michigan. This one was on the MLS. An agent sent it to me in a Facebook group. I have never been to Holland, Michigan. I've been to Detroit once in like 2013, lived to tell about it. But anyways, bought this property sight unseen with an agent that I had never met before for $775,000. The net operating income at the time that I purchased it was $46,000 a year. So the net operating income is basically all of the revenues, like the rents, minus all of the operating expenses, taxes, insurance. We've got like maintenance and repairs. We've got property manager, all of those expenses, not including debt, is $46,000 a year. All we did was raise rents by $75 a month. So tenants were all month to month. We did an initial rent increase, $75 a month per unit. We brought that net operating income up to $51,250. And we did that in like the first, I think like 2 or 3 months. Which means, so this is when I say forced appreciation, the new value, like 2 months in, $916,000. So how did I get here? So the appraiser said that this property is valued at a 6.25 cap. Well, the cap rate is the net operating income divided by the value. So all I have to do is take my new net operating income, because I have higher rents now, divided by that 6.25 cap. And that's how I get 916. So pretty much in a couple of months, I created $141,000 in additional equity. And so, and this is like, we haven't even really gotten into this property yet, meaning we haven't fully executed our strategy, because our strategy is to renovate these units as the tenants move out and increase the rents $225 per month. And so again, zero expense, like zero renovation. We literally didn't do anything other than increase rents. And then we, got that $141,000 benefit from doing so. But when we increase the rents, our new pro forma cash flow, so this is our annual cash flow, it's going to be $24,000 a year, so about $2,000 a month. And then once we do that, our new value is over $1 million, right? Which means we're $281,000. And to get really fun, the tax benefits on this property was a loss of $105,000. So again, super, super awesome to basically take $100,000 off of the adjusted gross income based on the tax benefits, even though we're cash flowing, even though we got, massive improvement in value by just increasing the rents. Again, this is an average deal, little 7-unit property, not super sexy, not, anything really crazy. You guys can do this too, super easy. Once you kind of understand these concepts.
Now,
Here's another one I
for
just
that
closed on this.
example-
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
For that example, is that unit, like, let's say C-class living, that the goal is to raise up to B-class living, is like a B minus that's going to a B? Or like how much room for growth do you see within that one specifically?
Yes, excellent question. So this is a B-class neighborhood, and I would call this like a C-class property because it has a lot of deferred maintenance. And I think this building was built in the, what is it? I think it's 1978. And so the opportunity here is we'll probably spend about $8,000 a unit and we're going to bring it up to like a B class quality. And our rents, so we're going, I think right now we're at about 900-ish, and then we'll be able to go up to like 1250. So that's the value add strategy. Great question though, Daniel. All right, so here's another one. Just closed on this one in June. This is a 14 unit in St. Louis. Again, guys, super vanilla. If you see any consistency here, you see I like brick buildings, right? These are all 2-bed, 1-bath, between like 700 to 800 square feet. So some consistency here. This one, brand new roof. This is definitely B-class neighborhood, kind of C-class property. I think this one was built in this, what is it, like 1970 maybe? Purchase price on this is 1.1 million. Monthly, oh, not monthly cash flow, sorry, annual cash flow on that, wish. Annual cash flow is just shy of $23,000. But when we implement our strategy, which is basically improving the rents. So unfortunately, a lot of these buildings, and you guys will find this to be true as well, because rents have increased so much over the last 24 months, a lot of these like mom and pop landlords are just not familiar with how high rents have gone. Or maybe, you know, they have obviously like a really low loan amount and they just don't want to rock the boat or, you know, whatever. And so they're not necessarily as aggressive. And a lot of these, they're also being self-managed. So anyways, once we go in and start improving the rents, this property should cash flow about $42,000 a year. And when we get there, the new value will be about 1.4. Conservatively, it could potentially even be a lot higher than that, depending on, you know, cap rates in the area. Tax benefits on this is year one. Tax benefits, $275,000. So again, awesome way to basically bring your tax bill to essentially zero. All right, and this one is something I picked up last week. Fort, this is a 12 unit in Fort Wright, Kentucky. Purchase price, $1,150,000. We did a seller credit because we found some issues. Every property has issues, but this one had a lot more than others. Pro forma cash flow annually is going to be about $31,000. New value close to 1.7. Tax benefits $275,000. So with this one, the play is we're going to improve the rents. You know, we do have to do some renovations to get there. Again, B-class neighborhood, 15 minutes from Cincinnati, super nice schools, kind of small, you know, little suburb, submarket. And essentially, once we get to this new value, again, we can pretty much pay back, I think it's like 80% of the total initial investment. So pretty sweet to be able to do that, to improve the value, maintain still a high cash flow annually, and then get the initial investment back and then reap the tax benefits. So that's pretty much the name of the game. It works really, really, really well. I'm showing you all kind of multifamily examples. Single family works too. Single family would be like 1 to 4 units. That's where I started. That's where I stayed for about 9 years until I really saw the value in, you know, going after some of these multifamily properties. I really love these small, which would be considered small multifamily properties, because they're typically too big for the individual investor, like newbie investor, and too small for the like professional investors that are syndicators, right? So I have very little competition, and most of the time we're dealing with owner operators, and they've kind of mismanaged the property, which means we get to get it for a better price, implement our strategy and our systems and processes, drive the value up, get the initial investment back, usually within 24 months, get the tax benefits from it, and then have a cash flowing asset from there out, for basically from there on out. All right, any questions? Are you guys following me on the properties?
Can I ask a question?
Absolutely.
So I live in Wichita Falls, Texas, which is a small little Texas town, but we have Shepherd Air Force Base here. Right now, I only have one rental property, and then we have, you know, our next house. I actually just met with my lender the other day because I was looking at doing my very first like cash out refi on our other property, because we have $100,000 that we could take out. And I was like, okay, like I want to do a cash out refi. He told me that he recommended I did a HELOC instead of a cash out because of interest rates. Yeah, I basically am, so I get like too nervous. My husband has always been the investor. And I was a stay-at-home mom for a long time. So anywho, in my eyes, I have a hard time. So, and I'm a prior social worker. So I like pay more in taxes now than I used to make an entire year of my career. So it's crazy because I'm also a newer agent. I'm less than 2 years in, but I'm trying to like have a new mindset of investing like you're teaching right now. It just gives me a high anxiety to take out $100,000 on a property that we own to purchase another one. Cause obviously we would need to like, in my opinion, I found a house actually that I want. It's 250,000. In my opinion, it needs a good $30,000-$40,000 worth of work to get it to a renter because I specifically rent out to military families.
Great.
Not specifically, but that's just my niche.
Sure. Absolutely.
And I have a really good network so that I can get between $2,000, $2,500 and up to $3,500 a month on rent.
Amazing.
Like,
those numbers are fantastic.
yeah, I have,
Yeah.
so they have the inject program here. So I have all the foreign pilots. My husband is a pilot. He flies for FedEx, but he's still associated with the military. So that's where I get my network from.
Amazing.
Which I really liked the W-2 benefits you're talking about because my husband is W-2 and we have that issue with taxes.
Yes.
He doesn't really have anything, but now I know that I can go to this with my CPA. Wow, that is, thank you.
Awesome. So it sounds like your numbers work. And
Do you
so
think-
it's getting over that fear. Jennifer probably has some tips for you on that. I've actually been in multiple rooms around investing. So I'd love to hear your feedback on this, Jennifer, but I have heard from multiple people, including tax advisors, that HELOC is a way to go right now.
Yes.
You don't pay on it unless you use it. And you should always borrow money when you can, not when you need it. Today, we all have more perceived equity in our home than we've ever had, even with the prices adjusting slightly. So let's take advantage of that, get these properties appraised at the high prices they are, take the money out. And if you don't use it, you're not going to be paying on it. But if you find the right opportunity, now you actually have funds to do it. Otherwise, you're trying to go do it later. And maybe you've lost some perceived equity and some buying power. And so that's the philosophy I've heard. Jennifer, do you agree with that? Or have you heard anything contradicting that or similar?
100% agree. Yes. And so yeah, to your point. So I'm doing HELOCs right now versus locking in long-term debt because long-term debt is high. I'm also doing some floats on some of these commercial loans right now. So I had the option, I could lock in for 5 years at 5.5, or I could float. And so on the float right now, I'm paying like 4.3 with no prepay. And so anyways, I 100% agree, Carrie. I couldn't have said it any better. Absolutely.
There was also a comment here, I think we've got Worley Real Estate Network, who is one of the top short-term rental investors in the country here. And they said you can also get, and I don't know if you've done this, this would be interesting to know if you've ever had to do this or if you've ever done this yourself, Jennifer, but an investor credit line for $250,000 if you have a deposit or a CD of $50,000.
Absolutely.
That's another option. I don't know if there's pros or cons to that, or if you've ever used that, or if somebody wants to chime in, unmute yourself too, because these are things that we all need to hear about because we don't even know they exist if we've never looked into it.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. You can also do a line against a stock portfolio. So if your stocks are down and you want to access those funds, but you don't want to sell because stocks are down, yeah, you can get a line against your stock account for sure. Okay.
Nice. Good questions.
I know I need to move because we've got 7 minutes left. So I want to give you guys, again, I could talk, I'm sorry. Yeah, I could talk for hours. All right. So let's talk about where to invest. So this is my criteria and this is what I look for. I like to be within a 1 hour radius from a major growth city. So that's how I identified Clarksville, Tennessee. Is I noticed that there were a lot of people moving to Nashville. Nashville had record growth for a number of years. There was a lot of municipal projects that were happening, a lot of companies relocating there, a lot of job growth. But unfortunately, the cap rates in Nashville just didn't make sense. And so I started, going basically an hour radius, and I found Clarksville, where the population had basically increased by 50% over the last 15 years. And property values were relatively affordable as compared to the rents. And so I went all in. So that's kind of how I identified that. Number 2 is areas where the population is increasing, not declining. I don't invest in markets like Detroit, Michigan, Birmingham, Alabama, Cleveland, where more people are leaving than moving. So you want to be really careful about that. I like the submarket population to also be over 50,000. I don't like, small town Texas population 2,500. Those are typically areas that I'm going to avoid. It's just really difficult to implement value add strategies, where the tenant's going to work. It's hard to find property managers, contractors, things like that. You've heard me say that I really like to invest in B neighborhoods. Again, I want to attract tenants that, feel safe in those neighborhoods where I can basically, buy a property, kind of turn it around and just make it be just really clean, safe, and affordable. I prefer 2-bed, 1-bath units where the average rents are going to be in that like $800 plus. So you can pretty much tell what class the neighborhood is based on the rents. That's like pro forma rents and like after renovation rents. If you're saying like in some areas, like let's say Memphis, for example, average rents might be like 600, right? And so that's typically not, a B class neighborhood. That's going to be like a C or D class neighborhood. I also have a preference for non-income or low income tax states. So obviously I'm not investing in California or, other areas, New York, of course, where there's just really high taxes, because we've seen this, COVID kind of accelerated this of people moving to more tax-friendly states. Again, landlord friendly, really important to me. I still own, I think like 7 properties in Washington state. However, I am not buying any more properties there because it is unfortunately no longer landlord friendly. Low crime is important. And then obviously I'm looking at job, rent, and wage growth. Funding sources. So that was that question. Yeah, here's just a list of 6 different funding sources. There are unlimited ways that you can fund these deals. Number one, most people start with their personal savings and they'll say, well, I have $50,000. I'm going to find a property that, meets that down payment requirement for my $50,000. Number 2 is you can use a home equity line of credit or lines of credit, business loan or line of credit. You can do line of credit against other, assets that you have. Number 3, you can do cash out refinance. Worked really, really well the last like 18 months. Not so much when the interest rates, went up to like 6. So a little tough to get cash out refinances done right now. Commercial banks though tend to be a little bit more flexible. So as mentioned, with some of these commercial loans, I can still get, deals in like the high 4s, low 5s. So there's some better options there. Number 1 is 1031 exchange. So exchanging maybe single family houses or residential properties into apartments. Great way to scale up. Number 5, private lenders. So as when I showed you guys that 6-unit deal, went into my database, found a private lender, paid them 8% interest only until I refinanced them. So they were super thrilled. They got 8% interest for basically doing nothing. It was great for me. I could use my capital to do multiple deals versus just one deal, and then I refinance them. And then number 6 is joint ventures. So you can partner with other investors, have them bring 100% of the down payment, maybe split the deal 50-50. You get it like a K1. And so you can share in the depreciation and share in those tax benefits. All right. And I'm going to roll through this pretty quickly. So I've worked with hundreds of investors over the investors and agents. And I've pretty much dialed it into this framework, the 9 steps that you need to build a 6-figure like net income producing cash flowing property. All right, so there's really 3 things that you need to think about. Number 1 is mindset. Number 2, you need connections. And number 3, you need a strategy. So in terms of the mindset, first is you really want to think about what's the outcome. What are you wanting this real estate portfolio to do for you? How is it going to improve your life? And it should be improving your life. The purpose of investing is to improve your life, not to create another job for yourself, but basically getting some clarity on the outcome that you're after. And then number 2, you need to get really clear on why. So why is this important? Why is it important to, because you're going to have to spend some time doing it, right? And so if you don't have a compelling reason why, it's pretty easy to bail when times get tough. Number 3 is then you need to get some action steps. So what do you need to do? What are all of the action steps? Now, this is going to depend on where you're at. If you're a brand new investor, there's probably a lot of things you're going to need to do. You're going to need to talk to lenders. You're going to need to kind of pick your market and do all of these things. And that's okay. And then when you kind of scale up, then again, the action steps change. In terms of connections, the question is like, who will find me deals? And in the beginning, it might be you, and it might be in your own backyard. And so you might be the lead acquisitions person. For me, I don't find any of my own deals. I don't do any of my own deal marketing. I just work with investor agents all across the country who bring deals to me. And so I can scale up a lot faster and move, quicker doing that. And then number two, the question is, who will fund my deals? Again, in the beginning, it might be you and a cash out refinance or a HELOC or personal savings or a 1031 exchange, what have you. But next level might be, do I have private lenders in my database? Do I have potential clients or partners that can come into these deals with me? That would be the funding source. And then number three is, who will finance my deals? So it's quite a bit different between like conventional financing and commercial financing. Most investors that I've worked with start with residential. And if they've never done anything in real estate before, I recommend that. It's a little bit more black and white. The financing is based on your debt to income ratio, not on the property's performance. And there's a little bit more scrutiny on the commercial side if you've not already had some experience. It's a little bit harder to break into commercial on your very first deal unless you have a partner. And then strategy. So next you have to ask, what is your investment criteria? What types of properties do you want to own? What's the cash on cash return? What's the cap rate you're looking for? What, again, are you looking for B class, C class? Are you looking for 1 to 4 units or 5+ units? Getting really clear on that. And then also getting some clarity on where can you find these deals? I recommend, first getting your investment criteria. The criteria should be tied to your goals and your outcome. So you're searching for the right properties that will move you forward and, again, actually improve your life. And then go and seek out and look and see where in the United States or where can I invest that these deals exist, because they do exist somewhere. And then, number 9 is, who can help me scale? And so this is a really important question. Again, very dependent based on where you're at. Anytime an investor comes to me with a challenge, we redraw this and then we the answers are different, obviously, depending on like how long you've been doing this and kind of where you're at. So I want to give you just a really quick example. I went through this with an investor and these were her answers. I can't see the top one, but basically, this was her goal, right? By 12 units by the end of 2022. The purpose, her why, was she wanted to make more money. She wanted to have more free time and less stress. The action steps was analyze 5 multifamily properties every single day, research new markets. The connections, in order to make this happen, she needed to network with more investor agents. She, as far as funding, she was going to refinance some properties and look at doing a 1031 exchange. As far as the lending side, she was going to call, my great lender, Luke with Bercadia, and also get some local lender referrals from agents. In terms of strategy, the types of deals that she was going to invest in, the types of 12 units, 1980 or newer, this is her criteria, 10% cash on cash, $250 per unit per month in net cash flow. A lot of clarity here. And then the markets, Chattanooga, Tennessee, St. Louis, Missouri, and Columbus, Ohio. And then who did she need to make this happen? Well, she needed property manager, bookkeeper, because her books were a mess. And she needed a new CPA that could essentially help her make sure that she's taking all these tax benefits. So again, you guys can do this. Just ask yourself these questions, schedule time to just really sit down and map out a plan. Pretty easy to do. Okay, well, that's great. So I'm open. I know we're kind of up, but I don't know, Carrie, if we have like 1 or 2 questions. And then I'm going to
let's do that.
Perfect. And I'm going to leave this link. So if you guys are thinking, this sounds really great, but what is my actual next step? The next step would be to start analyzing deals and make that into ideally a daily habit, because it's going to improve, basically your skill set. And then also, if you're not ready to buy right now, that's okay. Maybe you can start identifying deals and sending them to your clients until you are ready to buy.
So
Okay.
let's do any last questions or an aha or a takeaway or something that you're going to create as an action item from today's call. I always like to bring it back with, we just learned something awesome. We got to glean from Jennifer and her knowledge. So now what are we going to actually do from this? Instead of just attending these trainings and doing nothing with them, we need to make an action associated. So what's the first thing that you can do? I loved the idea personally. I'll start of getting out there and figuring out how to do a monthly mastermind around investing in real estate, and go invite community members, local business owners, people that are other, that you go into the restaurant, go talk to those entrepreneurs about how are they building wealth outside of what they're doing on a day-to-day basis, and how as a real estate professional can you help them? And then you've got to get your people around you to contribute to that conversation, the property manager that you trust, you know, your CPA, et cetera. So do you have those people? If not, you've got to find those people, number one. And then number two, I think the more you get into these conversations and you create these masterminds and you surround yourself with these conversations to help other people, the more confident you're going to become in this content, right? Your competence increases and it's going to give you confidence to go do it yourself too. So sometimes we got to do it ourselves first to feel confident and competent to help others. And sometimes we just got to get in these conversations and force ourselves to learn and grow and help other people do it to then get our own confidence to do it personally. And there's no right or wrong, but we've got to get into some action. And the market upcoming, everything Jennifer said points us to this is a place that we should be doing more business to make income through transactions, and we should be taking advantage of it. So we've got to get started. So who else has an action item that they want to just say, hey, this is what I'm going to do, or a last minute question?
So I wanted to throw in a question for the people that were asking earlier, which relates back to should I have a property manager when doing my first deal or not? Can you talk a little bit about how factoring in your target rate of return is going to influence whether a property manager is going to be a good fit for your first investment or not?
Sure. So I underwrite every single deal with property management. So even if you plan to self-manage, you want to put property manager in there because at some point you might not want to manage that property, right? So if the numbers of the deal only make sense, if you're doing the management, I would recommend that you look for another deal, right? So you want to make sure that all of the numbers work. So you put, again, you know, you want to have a vacancy rate, you want to have property taxes, insurance, all of these different things, and property management in that line item, underwrite the deal that way. Again, if you want to make more money and you do want to take that on, fine, but just make sure that the deal makes sense. So does that answer your question, Daniel?
Yeah, it wasn't a personal question, but I wanted them to hear
Amazing.
it from you instead of me being the peanut gallery throwing it at them from the back end.
Great. Awesome. Thanks.
We also have a question in the chat too, from Jeremy and his team. Did you create your own private investor network?
I did. Yeah. And so it was really interesting. I didn't necessarily seek that out, but I had a lot of, so, you know, hosting this monthly meetup where you get like 50 to 75 people showing up, I would have, what would happen is a lot of people would come up to me and they'd say, this is great. It sounds like a lot of work. Can I just give you money and you just go do your thing? And then I just like, you somehow like give me money for loaning you money. So I said, yeah, sure. You know, we could figure something out. And so I just, I had like a little list, and anytime I had a deal come up where the deal would work with a private lender, I would basically send that out to that list and say, hey, everyone, you know, here's the deal. Here's the underwriting. I'm looking for, you know, $400,000 or whatever it is. You know, if there's any interest, let me know. And I would get people emailing back and say, yeah, absolutely. And so I paid an attorney to create some loan docs and basically kind of like facilitated all of that. And then just made it really easy for the private lender to just lend the money. And they loved it. The only downside was, you know, when we'd pay off, they'd say, okay, when's the next deal? Like, so they almost like, you know, got addicted to the, that, you know, easy interest money that they were making.
Now, I do have one question for myself, more personal, which is by the beginning of 2023 or so, I want to be very much pursuing acquiring my first investment property. And I have a strong network connections when it comes to the mobile home environment, right? And that's something that I could probably get into and acquire cash myself. So one of the questions that I'm juggling is, would I be better off acquiring a property cash that meets a rate of return that I'm looking for, ideally, or seeking out some private money to maybe pick up something that's like site built? And the question being in regards to refinancing in the future and recapturing equity in order to be able to move into the next deal.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's ultimately up to you. You can only go so far with your own capital, right? So like if you have enough to just do one deal versus if you work with a private lender and then, you know, use their capital for that deal, and then you still have money to do like another deal or a couple other deals, you can move a lot faster and go further. And so that, it's very much like a personal decision. Danielle, I've kind of done that, whereas like if you're sitting on a lot of capital and it's not doing anything and it's just sitting in the bank, losing money to inflation right now, then absolutely deploy it. But if you could essentially, 4x the number of deals that you're doing by basically leveraging that capital and doing more deals, then again, you can go further faster. So it's whatever your risk tolerance is and whatever feels right to you.
Yeah, I guess like my risk tolerance is my confidence that I'm going to be able to pay back that private money within the time that I need to pay it back, right?
For sure. That makes sense. That makes complete sense. And I think, so my confidence comes from the numbers in the deal and for doing, basically deal analysis every single day for 15 years. And so it's really because I've built that like skill set and that habit, and I know the numbers backward and forward. And so you always want to go into every deal knowing what the, upsides are, but then also protecting the downsides. And so, we didn't really get into this today, but I mean, like deal underwriting is an entirely different conversation. But, I look at like that service coverage ratio, how well can I service this debt? And, I look at that for my entire portfolio. And so, a lot of times it's a really good metric for what you're describing. So, most lenders want a debt coverage ratio of like 1.25, meaning that the net operating income is 25% higher than the debt. So basically your revenue could go down by 25% and you break even. And so Daniel, if you find a deal that's like 1.5, then that's a very, very low risk deal, meaning that the revenue could decline by 50% to the point that you're breaking even, which means that at a minimum, you could service that payment. You might not be making any money, but you could service that payment. And so I think building the skill set around underwriting and just looking at a lot of deals and running the numbers, you're going to gain that confidence just by doing.
Awesome. Awesome. We have one more question in the chat and then we'll let you go, Jennifer. We have a question asking, this person is new to the real estate world, and what would be the best advice that you could give to a new agent? And do you offer one-on-one Zooms for people who want to know more? Or if someone wants to reach out to you, how can they do so?
Yeah. Okay. There's a lot of questions in one. All right. So guys, as a new agent, the absolute best thing you can do is buy a house hack. Ideally, if you can buy a fourplex, live in one unit, take all of the rents from the other units, it's going to basically service that mortgage payment. So you're going to live rent free. You only need to do this for a year to meet the owner occupancy requirements. You can do an FHA loan, right? Commissions maybe 3%. FHA loan is 3.5%. So you basically have to come up with like 0.5% down and some closing costs. So guys, do yourself a favor, owner occupy a fourplex. Basically, again, you'll get 3 rentals right then. Move out after a year, rent that unit out, and then use that as a case study to start teaching all of your clients to do this. Because you guys, again, as mentioned, we took, I shouldn't say we, but when the interest rates went up, 1 million homeowner or would-be homeowners basically went back into the renter pool. If you could teach them that they could actually become an investor and a homeowner in the same deal, you will be their agent for life. You could basically brand yourself as the house hacking specialist, have unlimited, number of business. You could do, workshops on this, meetups on this. So I'm really, really passionate about agents like taking advantage of this. And it's also very low risk. Again, FHA loan, live in one unit, get the other units to be paying for that, and then basically move out, right? And then ideally go and do it again. That's how my husband and I started, because we had zero money. Like literally we had no money. And so I used my commission as a down payment to buy a duplex. We lived there for a year and then we just kept leapfrogging. Okay. So then the second question is, if you guys, want to do this and you're serious about it and you really want to figure out how to get to the next level. So we have the ROI Inner Circle, which is my coaching. We work with a lot of agents, a lot of real estate investors. We've got a community of like 350 people all across the country. And we have one-on-one calls. We do basically sessions like this. Like after this, we're doing a creative financing session inside the community. So I absolutely just love it. We do in-person events. We have a ton of fun. People are partnering. And so, if you guys are interested in that, you can go to the website and learn a little bit more. Was that all the questions?
Yeah, thank you so much. And Jennifer Hillquist, she left an amazing testimonial here if you want to copy and paste it. About she just joined.
Hey, thanks, Jen. Yeah.
She she just joined the Addicted to ROI community, and it's been an amazing journey for her. So she highly recommends it. So, but
Aw,
thank you
thanks,
so
Jen.
much, Jennifer. This has been so rewarding, and you've provided us with so much knowledge. Are you able to send us a copy of the
course.
slides? Okay, great. So I'll
Absolutely.
send that out, you guys,
Absolutely.
with the video.
Fantastic. Well, thank you
Awesome.
all so much. Thank you, Carrie. Thank you, Haley. Again, I just, love talking to agents and teaching this, and I just can't wait to see what you guys do.
Thank you so much. This is just awesome to continue to change our minds. Like when we learn one new thing from somebody with a different perspective, we now no longer can be the same person we were. And when we change our thoughts, that means we change our feelings, we change our actions, and the results of our life change. So thank you for being part of that, Jennifer. Thanks you guys for joining us in our growth call. Haley, thanks again for all you do to make these happen. And thanks